Yo everyone! So, we'll start off this session of hottest take in on-chain gaming by something not hot at all. Who are you and what do you do?
Hi everyone, I'm Lancelot, so I'm from Briq, and we deployed on mainnet 2 weeks ago the rewrite of our project using Dojo, so a Starknet gaming engine.
Hello. So I'm a bit close. I'm Calc. I'm from Realms or Biblioteca. We're one of the OGs on Starknet, building autonomous worlds and on-chain gaming.
Hi guys, I'm Cheelax or Thomas, and basically I entered in the Web3 by doing all the first hackathon of Dojo. So we build a lot around it, and we are trying right now to build a new game studio with all my parts from the different hackathons.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Fabien. I'm the head of gaming operation at Cometh, so leading the gamer vertical, and we're currently working on Cosmic Battle, which is our remastered version of Cometh Battle, our previous Web3 web brother game.
Okay, so let's start off by something a bit tame, and then we'll go forward with the more hot takes. What do you think is interesting about on-chain games?
So it's a very simple question, and I guess it's maybe a long answer. So Web3 and on-chain games, coming from Web 2, the generic Web 2, there's a lot of defiance right now from players towards editors about transparency, the ownership of assets. When we look at FIFA, you buy tons of packs for FIFA 23. You get your players, you play the game, and the year after there's this new version of the game and you have to start from scratch again, and all your progress is gone. So there's a lot of values that Web3 and on-chain gaming is bringing to the mix that I feel is the added value, the next evolution of gaming, and that's how we're gonna do mass adoption through bringing more value versus the regular Web 2 experiences. I try to keep it short so everyone can, have a say.
I'm kind of sad because Fabien just stole my example on FIFA, so
Rugged.
But I really agree that it's a lot about empowering the users and the gamers, which is something that is not really existing in the classic gaming industry right now, in my opinion. And the second thing I see a lot too is about modularity with some builders which can come and build basically some stuff based on existing games. It is something that is really working on right now during the Dojo Hackathon, with basically a lot of tracks with people wanting others to build something on top of their games. We can cite like Loot Survivors or Pixelo, Briq. I think I will forget some of them, but that's the idea.
Dope Wars.
Dope Wars too, indeed.
Yep.
Yeah, so all the good ones have been took. So I'll go with it really feels like the last sect of crypto that hasn't really been explored thoroughly, like in a true crypto native way. We've had like NFTs, putting art on chain and TradFi into the crypto palette, I guess. And now I feel like we're really trying to just explore actual gaming fully in the most crypto native way. So yeah.
I'll take a slightly different direction. For me, the two most interesting potential things about on-chain gamings are, one, the potential for modability to become a proper business instead of just being, free work, which isn't amazing. And the second thing is more of a change of mindset, but you have this idea that if you're doing on-chain gaming, you want to be composable by default. If your game, if an output of your game is a token or an NFT or something, it's cool for you if somebody else reuses that in their own game and does something potentially different with it or puts a different twist on it. That's not necessarily something that you need blockchain to do, but like real, like actual games don't do it because you need to be in the right state of mind to do this kind of thing. You need to think about composability or have an ecosystem and things like that. Not really something that typical games do, and I think it's not really realized. Everybody talks about composability, and very few people have actually done any kind of composability. But gaming does offer a unique opportunity of, I'm just creating. So in the, I think it was at one of the Dojo hackathons, there was a presentation about people making a game where you create spells. And so the output of that game is just you create spells. So it would be cool to then have somebody else make a game using those spells, and that's not really what the original team is doing. So they have like this whole design space now where you can try and build something different on top. And I think that's quite interesting.
So we've been talking about on-chain games being games that run most of their logic directly on the blockchain. So moving a character as a transaction, shooting someone as a transaction, attacking someone as a transaction versus only having the assets on the blockchain. But there's also a brand new concept called autonomous worlds. What is an autonomous world, and why is it not an on-chain, like sparkling on-chain game?
That's a harder question. I think I guess one of the key differences I would say is this idea that now there's, I guess, two different things. I'll let you guys expand on it. But the idea that you're not necessarily going to be played by humans, that's one of the big things in on-chain gaming, is that you have bots that you can't really prevent from playing a game. And then this idea of what is a forever game, how is it going to evolve, and what does that look like, which is also something that we don't really know. A persistent game for like hundreds of years on its own, basically.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone really knows. We're kind of just, as we say, fucking around and finding out. For me, what I guess I would want it to be is just a set of fundamental protocols and games interacting with one another and really making that interoperable magic that everyone wants, really.
In my opinion, autonomous worlds are like more on-chain gaming, which will live longer, in fact. So basically, we are just gonna build like the basis. With the basis, we'll kind of not move at all, and everything will build on top. People will play it. There will be bots too, because autonomous world want to embrace the bots, and that's kind of my definition. And yeah, the goal is in fact to have this solid base and to expand it in any way you want.
Also, if you want to respond to something that another one says, just jump in.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on everyone's point is that it seems no one has the same definition of what is an autonomous world. So maybe that's why it doesn't spark that much within the space right now. First, we need to define it. But I agree with what has been said. There's going back to Web2, looking at just a recent controversy with a studio that's fantastic that released an MMO. Everyone paid the MMO, and 2 days after they closed down and said like, we're going bankrupt, tough luck. So that's the equivalent of a rug pull in Web2. So autonomous world would prevent that, and fully on-chain games that would live despite the editor going down, and that everyone could reuse the different bricks. So instead of starting from scratch again for every experience, you can leverage on what was already built before you and try to improve on that, keeping in mind, the end user and how they can enjoy the optimization, the iteration on games mechanics. And in terms of why it's not so broad yet, I feel also there's a lot of technical constraint around that. We mentioned, the FPS, potentially you need to have low MS and a lot of interaction that would need to go through transaction to be validated. There's also, if you look at RTS, the fog of war, which is kind of, you can work around that with zero knowledge proof, but that is kind of edgy and needs to be worked on still. So there's still a lot of work to be done to build and to try to compensate the constraint that fully on-chain games bring. They bring value, but for every value, there's a trade-off in terms of technical constraint.
So all four of you are working in different setups. Sorry? My bad. So working in different setups. Calc, you're part of a shadowy DAO, and we don't even know your name. Cheelax, you're trying to build a studio, and Florian, Lancelot, you're working in companies that are building these things. How do you see, how the hell do you make money with this thing, basically?
Good question.
Told you it would get spicy.
There's since we're alongside building the tech, we are building the business models that are going with it. So there's a lot of things where we can leverage, try to leverage DeFi, try to leverage new things that did not exist previously. In Cometh Battle, we had a location for our NFTs, a location feature, so you could rent your NFT to another player and they would benefit some of its functionality, and you would get some portion back of the value. So there's new ways to monetize and to leverage peer-to-peer economy. When you look at creators like the so-called influencers, gaming influencers, if they can create Briqs or even modders, if they can build things and then get a share of the revenue every time that Briq is used. There's a lot of things where we can have a more circular economy. And in terms of being a game studio, we're trying at Cometh to have a hybrid model between what is done in Web 2, regular Web 2, and add a Web 3 twist to every monetization feature we have. So not same value, but same feel, same experience for the player, but better value because we leverage Web 3 functionalities.
I think that there is still a lot of things to do and invent in this kind of stuff, because the classic model to me is like when people wanted to build an on-chain game, they just did an NFT collection. You needed to buy it, to mint or to buy it, and after that you can play the game. But I kind of like, for example, the model of Loot Survivor, where basically if you want to launch a game, you just need to pay a little amount of money to play the game. It's kind of an arcade game where basically you just play a little game for $1 or one lord. And yeah, I think that this is really interesting because it doesn't mess up with the idea of the. It doesn't mess up in fact that if the collection if the game studio is not working anymore on the game, basically you just played the game you played before, you had some fun or you had not, but you don't finish with like an NFT you paid 1 ETH and after that like is 0.1 and you just lose a lot of money doing that. So I think that's an interesting model, but there are still tons of stuff to do around that and stuff innovative to imagine.
So I'm generally of the mind that we're working in crypto and it's the most speculative sector on the planet. And if we can't make money out of it, like we're fucking up somewhere. Like,
Skill issue.
It's a real skill issue now. But yeah, like I was going to go over Loot Survivor, but you stole that one. So yeah, like I think it's relatively simple, is that we just need games that people are going to play and play a lot. And there's always areas in there that you can capture value, being at like Loot Survivor where you're straight just taking a fee to play a game. The great part about these things is there's very little overhead once they're online. They can, you get all this great stuff about headless UIs and whatnot.
Are you talking about pay to play, a completely revolutionary idea?
Insane. I know.
Damn.
It's crazy.
You heard it here first.
Who would have thought of it? But yeah, I think there's loads of ways. Like a lot of these games are going to be like heavily, very heavily economically incentivized. There's going to be loads of trading and blah 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 happen. Just take a straight fee on that stuff. Like it can't be that tricky, I think.
Yeah, just to bounce on that, I point out that Roblox, you might have heard of Roblox. They basically
Small game.
They basically do everything that blockchains try to do, but not on chain, and they take 30% of every transaction. They make a shit ton of money. Like it's literally crazy. Don't look into it because it's like too crazy. Even if in blockchain, like whoa. Yeah, I think there's two other things that are like I think one thing that's very underutilized on blockchain is subscription models. We have Ben from Starknet ID who's doing the only subscription model on chain that I know of. I mean, not really the only one.
He is wearing a Tune sweater, if you're asking.
Yeah, so like people, we all know that subscription models are really good for, that people pay them even though they don't use the product they're paying for. They're a good way to extract money potentially reliably. And the other thing is bouncing on this idea that it's very speculative. You can think of blockchains in general as games, because most of the games that people are building right now, I don't think it's necessarily the case about the games that are in this panel, but they're kind of like DeFi with a MMORPG costume in a way. At the end of the day, they're about trading assets or acquiring capital and things like that. And it's not very different from just, buying shit coins. You're just trading with a different material, but you're still playing a game that's kind of PvP/PvE against other people. And there's something to be said for that. Just try to leverage that and sell what the people want, even if they don't really have a utility for it beyond just wanting it. It doesn't have to be NFTs. But.
So talking about shitcoins, what is something that you think is completely stupid right now in the on-chain gaming ecosystem? You're allowed to cite each other's projects.
Anyone have a good start?
Okay, let's go for a hot take. No, joke aside, I think right now what is very detrimental is when you focus on only the blockchain part of the experience and that you try to sell it as the value that anyone would get through the product, the service, whatever. It is very true for gaming, and what really we shoot ourselves in the foot with that play to earn model that was like the pipe dream, and everyone and anyone and everyone believed in it, and at the end of the day you realize that it was only a mirage, the reflection of the sky in the sand, and there was never water. So now we have to build back trust with the audience, the target audience that Web3 gaming is trying to get in the end. We rely on Web3 and degens right now, people that are have a keen interest into NFTs and speculation, but at some point, getting back to one of the previous questions, to make money, you have to go mass market and please a wider audience, and this is where you need to focus more on the gameplay and the experience itself, and just leverage blockchain. Blockchain is not the experience.
I kind of agree with that point, because basically when you're developing an on-chain game, the on-chain part is taking a lot of space in what you do. So I think that the really important thing you need to keep in mind as a game developer is to just basically make your game fun to play, even if it's not an on-chain game at the beginning, and maybe bring it on-chain after that. Because to me, the biggest challenge is to make a fun game, which is already really hard. But after that, you need to build it, to bring it on-chain, and it's even another level of difficulty. So I kind of agree with what you said. And I think we need to bring with this Web3 part more seamlessly, because at the end, what we want our users to be is classic gamers. And basically, at the moment, I think that 80% of the gamers hate the Web3. So it's really a huge challenge we have right now, and it's by making good games and thinking of the on-chain mechanics maybe after, or just prioritize that you're really doing something really fun.
Yeah, so I think maybe a bit spicy. I don't think gamers care too much about owning assets that much. Like everyone very much focuses on that. That's like the pivotal selling point of all this stuff. But in reality, I think what will bring autonomous worlds, fully on-chain games is just make a good fucking game. If you look at games like Primordium, they've really caught a lot of steam because it's just a good game. Like currently it's only on testnet, and that's fine, but people are still playing it because it's a good game.
What's Primordium for people who don't know?
It's like how do I describe it?
It's that good.
It's like a base simulator, and you build your base and then you attack other people. It's pretty like simple. What's the game it's based on?
Factorio.
Factorio. So if anyone's played Factorio, it's very, very similar to that. And it's just a good game. Like people want to play good games.
What's the Web3 part, is Ben asking.
It's on chain. That's and that's it so far. It's only on testnet so far. But yeah.
All of it is running on chain, like building a base. Yeah, the fully part of fully on chain means that everything is running on chain.
Yeah, but they're not on issue their mainnet.
They're on testnet.
Yeah, because they
Yeah,
would be crazy.
I think they're running on their own app chain or something like this.
It's probably up OP stack.
Just most likely.
Has to be.
It's fun. You should try it.
He won't.
Yeah. Forgot what I was wanna go on, but I think maybe I want to play like devil's advocate a little bit, but sort of to play on your point that at the end of the day, you're putting assets on chain for the fact that they can have value. That's like, I think, the big difference between Web 2 and Web 3 assets. And like if you were on the internet, maybe not 15 years ago, but you were playing Flash games. There were a ton of very fun Flash games, and they never made a pound. I think maybe some of them did with like advertisement or something. I don't know.
Like £2.
Haven't looked into the business model of Flash games, to be honest. But I'm not sure if fun is enough to get players, but it's not enough to make money and get players. You do need to like kind of think of that as well. And the people that are on blockchain right now are mostly speculators. So you look at one of the more successful projects, Para Gaming, I think, is Serot. So the French company that are selling like footballer NFTs and doing fantasy football thingies. And I think even for them, and they're on a like super mainstream thing, it's mostly, I'm going to say investors, but like definitely not the right word, gamblers playing the game.
Addicts.
Yeah, sure, addicts. And I think that's how they make most of their money, even though their business on paper is really, it's fun, like people like betting on sports. But yeah, I don't know if that's relevant.
So piggybacking on this, sorry, you wanted to add something, Calc? No. Piggybacking on this, it seems we all kind of agree that okay, if fully on-chain games and autonomous worlds are to pick up, it needs to become more mainstream. And right now, it just so turns out that we have a weird fringe of people that are playing these games that are not the people that we want, or that are eventually not the core of the audience. So my question is, how do you balance out just pure speculative behaviors that could be beneficial or necessary to your game, and, as you said, Calc, building a good fucking game?
I guess you have to build a good fucking game. That would be my answer. Yeah, the problem is that if you can make money in your game, and we saw that with play to earn craze, Axie Infinity. If money can be made, people will try to do it, and it doesn't have to be a ton of money for people in third world countries to get really into it, because for them it's a lot of money, and then you end up with like, I don't remember the numbers, like 200,000 Filipino playing your game full time instead of having
Working.
having a real job. So I think I never talked with them about that, but I think Axie Infinity got Ponzi'd by mistake. Like it was too early for them; they didn't expect it, and I think you might literally have to be aggressive to prevent people from Ponziing your game too much. Like if you see your token mooning, I think if you're actually trying to focus on making a game, you might want to just dump the supply to prevent it from happening, because otherwise you're like, things are going to change in ways that you will not be able to come back from. And well, it might be a good thing or a bad thing, but if you're just trying to do a game, making it be too worth something too early might be a bad thing.
So you're talking about like monetary policy of
Same thing with regular Web3 game that are not fully on chain. So, I'm not sure to understand the real difference between those kind of games from the way you say and like fully on chain games. Because from what you describe, it's basically the same in both cases.
I don't think I'm saying that there's a difference between fully on-chain games and Web3 games in that respect. Just saying that if your fully on-chain game gets Ponzi'd to death, you're still like dead at the end. And you maybe don't want that for an autonomous world. Like you can front load your capital to too many people that aren't interested in the future of the project. They just want to make a cheap buck, and then when the Ponzi dies, because they always do, you're left with nobody being really interested in the thing.
Then you don't even need a token. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you legit might not want to. That's what I'm saying, is that maybe you don't want to. You want to make it fun, but you also don't want to make it worth money in the beginning, potentially.
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily against people speculating on a game. I mean, I think it's relatively simple. Just don't make a Ponzi.
is it that easy?
Yeah, everyone wants a Ponzi. What are you on about? We're in crypto.
I hope we have a hot takes counter because it's just going off the
You did
rails.
say
now.
do spicy, so.
Is it?
No, I'm not saying do a Ponzi. Don't do a Ponzi. So with Loot Survivor, it was built in mind to not make a Ponzi, and therefore any rewards that come out of it are by people putting money into it. There's no inflation or added incentive past beat the other players. I don't know how you could speculate on it other than just playing a game and you might win and beating other people. So I don't think it's Ponzi, but people can still speculate to win it, I guess. So I don't want to stop those people doing that.
Do you have a betting market on top of Loot Survivors?
Not yet, but I want one. I definitely want one.
I'm betting $100 that you don't go past the final boss.
I would put all my money on Loot Hero to win, like just all of it. I'd be rich.
Nothing much to add on this point. To be honest, our games are not yet fully on chain. We don't have the luck to have some Dojo stuff on mainnet yet. Hopefully one day.
I don't know if it's luck.
But yeah, I think it's important to if your game has incentive at the beginning to play and stuff like that, I think I'll need to just take some advices of tokenomics specialist and not mess this up for sure.
Yeah, I think there's not much you can do against speculation in a Web3 game. It's up to you then to create the proper safeguards to these type of players will pull into one direction, and you need to find the counterbalance to that. So it's either through volume of free-to-play players or players that will find value in a different aspect of the game, so are not into I want to buy this specific NFT or this specific iteration of the NFT, which has the number 001 or whatever. Try to do also safeguards around botting and everything that is scripting. Like people will try to rationalize the extraction, the value extraction of your experience, and as being said, like think through thoroughly about your tokenomics and your the economy around your game, the secondary market, the supply, if you do DeFi decks and whatnot, like how you can arbitrate or try to minimize the speculation aspect out of it. So keep the core of these features of like enabling players to trade NFTs, resell and stuff like that, but try to contain that within rational limits of, let's try to not make like a factor 1,000 on NFTs that you provide within your experience. But I guess it's gonna be through trial and error of like trying to build different systems and see what sticks, what works best, and adapt, evolve, or die.
I was just thinking of the example you were talking before about Axie Infinity. And I wanted to come back to the thing that we said before, which was make a fucking good game, because there was actually like 2 million people playing just to live from it. But if the game was actually good, maybe there were 10 million people playing it and just keeping the game balanced and don't make it a Ponzi.
Maybe the whole Philippine would be playing like half the GDP.
Yeah, talking about betting has reminded me of another idea about how you could potentially make money from an on-chain game. So a question, which isn't related to speculation directly. I think one of the fun ideas is, when people play football, they don't make money by playing football. They make money from like people attending, TV deals, things like that. People pay to watch the sport. Well, it's like a sport, so people pay to watch it, and that's the industry. You're not actually making money by kicking the ball. That's one thing that could potentially be explored for like autonomous worlds. Just people paying around the sport of watching the drama unfold or things like that, instead of necessarily buying into the game directly as like
I think the primary way of making money is not the game, but everything.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the things that could happen in the future and might be, interesting. I don't know. Would be a way to avoid being a Ponzi, anyways.
So, on-chain esports.
Yeah, on-chain esports, basically, in a word, or 2 words.
Big up to Matchbox DAO. We've talked all about Ponzi's and bots, so let's focus more on the bots now. As we've said, the fully on-chain gaming ecosystem embraces the fact that you will have bots and humans playing at the same time. Overall, do you think it's more of a risk or an opportunity for these games? How do you see the relationship between these two play out?
Yeah, well, if you end up with the on-chain esports thing, I don't think it's necessarily a problem, so long as people care about the bots. Which, I don't know, maybe. Other than that, I don't really have a take on this, but I know there's like 2 ways to see it. One is you want to prevent people from, you want to have people play against people, which leads you to making your game accidentally a KYC system, which might not be a bad thing, but that's kind of what you end up having to build.
Or you just forfeit your eternal soul to the orb and prove you're a human on chain.
Yeah. And the second option is, making it a bot game. Just people trying to make the best bot possible, and that's what their sport is. Because I don't think, at the moment there's the third option of, making your game complex enough that you can't easily bot it, but looks like that's no longer going to be an option in a few years at most. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think with a true autonomous world, it's always going to be there. So I don't think our opinions really matter. They're going to be there, and we're going to have to build a world that facilitates them, whether we like it or not. I actually haven't played it, but I know Parallel doing a game essentially where you oversee AI agents, and I think that may be the end state that autonomous worlds become, in which case we have all these protocols and games and cool stuff happening, and we're essentially just telling an AI what the hell we want them to do. But yeah, I think that's...
I think it's both a risk and an opportunity, because basically I think it's really cool to try to build some bots for the game, and it brings a complete new audience, like some kind of developer which are basically kind of testing your application too. But it's too a big risk, because if you just put some monetization on your game, they will just go like really hard to try to find some spot where they can take everything. So it's a really big risk too.
Yeah, to second on that, it's kind of the cat and mouse game where you try to build safeguard, and then the bot evolves to still extract value, and then you try to do a patch to fix that, and that goes on and on. But I can agree that there's like two sides of the coin. The first one being that's okay to have bots. Usually they try to min-max, so they will end up playing against each other, bots versus bots, and us regular humans, being flawed and whatever, like we're gonna be not as good as bots, so we're gonna end up playing against other humans. And bots are used in games. If you look at big experience such as Marvel Snap or Fortnite on mobile, the first couple of games you're matched against bots, and they're very bad at the game, so that you end up being number one. You're a chicken winner, and then you get hooked to the game, being like, I'm very good at that shit, not knowing that you played against bots. So they're a benediction and a curse, and it's up to you to find a way to navigate around that.
We have a fun story about this, actually. It came from Will Robinson of Alliance DAO, who told us the story of, I think it was Ember Sword, one of the very first crypto games in general. And he said they tried so hard to weed out the bots, and the way they were weeding out the bots is they're just winning too much, or they're acting too non-human-like, that they just ended up with bots that are completely impossible to tell apart from humans. And so they're just okay with having some bots that are just slightly better than humans, because it just makes sure that you always have someone to play with. So it's a bit like a tax in some sense. It just makes the world a bit more alive.
Yeah, there's some cool stories. Like if you look at World of Warcraft, back in the days when the bot first arrived within the space, devs, they didn't know how to tell them apart. So again, a bot is like trying to min-max. So we'll go from point A to point B in a straight line. And one of the safeguard they built is they just put a rock within point A and point B, and all the bots would be stuck against that rock and going forward. And then the GM would log in, look at every single player name stuck against the rock, and bat them on site. And then, the bot designer noticed that, and created a smart way for bots to try to avoid obstacles, and going back to the cat and mouse game.
So continuing on the topic of mass adoption, what do you think what is in your opinion the biggest unlock that we need to get from a technical standpoint to really reach the next level for on-chain games?
There's a lot. The first one would be, removing the friction that entering the space creates. So we're getting there with the count abstraction. and that it's a one-click connect or one-click sign up for someone to create an account. The wallet port is invisible. They still get the benefits from owning a wallet and owning their assets, but it's invisible to the eye. And then at some point later in the experience, when they're really hooked, you try to educate them and make them realize it was an NFT all along. And then they wow, mind blown. Okay, I had a bad perception about that, but in the end, it brings more to me than I used to think. And in terms of the blockchain's elements, we have to build things that are up to the standards in terms of UX. If it's too much steps, too much clicks, too much of a hassle, you need to sign that, go on that website, create an account, do unramp, buy crypto, trade, whatever. It's too many steps, and we've seen that with e-commerce. Like you now have a one-click buy button because they've realized there was a lot of drop rates. The more clicks there were, the more you lose people in the conversion funnel. So we need to get to these standards and build experiences that are almost seamless to Web2 users.
Forfeit.
Yeah, so I think one of the major unlocks, again, would be make a good fucking game.
Is that a tech breakthrough?
That, yes. It's technically hard. I don't know if anyone remembers playing like Minecraft when they were like 10, when I was 10 at least. It was like, if you ever wanted to play a mod on Minecraft or play with your friends, there was a ton of UX problems there. You need to like install Hamachi, and you need to go into freaking program files and do all this really annoying shit. But it was a good game, and I think that's what will bring all these people, next billion users and what everyone says, is just make a good fucking game. But yeah, I'm not technical enough to give a good answer, so.
Yeah, I don't really have much. I just add on that so long as it's free, people can go really out of their way to deal with annoying things, but making them pay is super hard. So that's, I think, why bad UX matters in blockchain, because people are paying real money, and going 0 to 1 on that is impossible unless you have good UX. Minecraft was free, so you could have to jump through hoops and go to weird Russian websites to have to install it or something, but that was fine at the time.
So I'd like to ask a final question before maybe we do like a Q&A. Question is, what's your hottest take for on-chain games in 2024? And what should Ben buy?
Yeah, well, it's gonna build or die. Really, like, I'm that is very hot take and personal take, but I'm really fed up to see beautiful PowerPoint presentation of people that are, we're a team of 3 and we're gonna do the World of Warcraft killer, that kind of take. Please build, get your products within players' hand, get their feedback, and stop talking, start building.
I guess my hot take will be Dojo. Because basically I started working on it like more or less 6 or 7 months ago. It's going really fast. We are delivering really interesting stuff really fast. And it helps us a lot in our development process and stuff like that. So basically it helps us to deliver really fast. As just Fabien said, it was interesting to do. So yeah, I think it's something really cool to invest on in Starknet. But invest time, not money. So
Sorry.
no Ponzi, sorry.
I don't really have a hot take. I think one of the things I could put forward is that we are going to fix all these UX issues. We are going to make games that people will want to play. that's spicy apparently. But yeah, like we're gonna make good games. The tech may not be fully there yet, but it's getting there and it will get there. And it's a matter of time more than whether or not it's going to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't really have a super good idea. Couldn't think of anything when they were talking. I think for me, maybe like the hottest take would be that the chain you choose is going to have a bigger impact than some people imagine. There's no reason. I mean, you have like two approaches in on-chain games. You have like the what they call Web 2.5, where some of the value is on-chain and some of it isn't, and then you have the fully on-chain games. And if you're fully on-chain, you need to be on a chain that works itself. And I think 2024 might be the year, like one of the big project dies for real. Not like Sysmo, but like I mean not Bitcoin or Ethereum probably, you know. And Solana almost died last year and somehow survived. But at some point there's going to be too many chains and there's going to be one of these ecosystems that just probably doesn't hold up. And I think you want your game to be on the right side there. Not sure what that will be though. Can't help Ben with buying his tokens, except for the Stark token.
That's it. Question? Anyone?
What would be the key reason why on-chain game will overperform the like what we already know today?
Well, I start quickly because I don't think this is gonna happen. I don't think like the Web3 gaming market will ever top the regular gaming market, which is crazy huge. I don't have the exact numbers on hand, but is it like 10 times bigger than cinema and music together or something? It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna happen, and based on that, I don't really have.
So what would be the biggest reason why on-chain games would be like autonomous sword would be super interesting? Just beyond what we have said before. Is there anything else, or it's only what we've said?
Yeah, I don't really can't think of anything else at the moment. But I'll let others pitch in.
Yeah, I don't think any of us will truly have an answer because no one's made an autonomous world yet. But I do think it may come down to something to do with like compounding effects of all these different protocols building with and on top of one another. Specifically with like realms, we're really trying to push this as having many different teams working with one another and aligned, and that's something I'm trying to push myself. What that might come out as and whether or not that'll beat anyone, I don't know, but maybe.
I don't have big ideas about that. Just the little thing I thought about is maybe about the community, because in my opinion, people like owning or playing the same on-chain game will connect a lot more than in classic games. I can see that, like, for example, in the Realms ecosystem where people are just chatting every day and improving like all the governance and stuff like that, they are really implied. And I think that gaming people are already really invested in what they do, but I think with on-chain gaming, it's another level.
I'm gonna, be maybe the different take, but I do believe that Web3 is gonna overtop Web2, but in time, not in the next few years. I think one of the breakthrough is gonna be around one of a big actor of Web2. Like there were rumors about, GTS6 including some NFT components. So let's see about that when in 2025. That's already far ahead. So if one of the big actors embrace the change or embrace Web3, then some will follow. I think also maybe there's an opportunity around true interoperability, which is something still vague and on PowerPoints right now, and there's no standards and it's not cross-chain, and there's a lot of an insane amount of difficulties to make that happen, but the interoperability already exists in Web2. Like you have like the Amiibo, where you buy these physical toys on Nintendo Switch and you can plug them and then turn into a character in the game, and you can use amiibos in different games of the Nintendo ecosystem. So that interoperability already exists. We not just need to expand that. So it will take a couple of actors to agree on interoperabilities of NFTs and have a use case to show and be like, this is truly happening. Again, it's not a pipe dream. This is true. It brings value to players, and I feel that's where the mindset will start to shift, and we will go from defiance to on the fence, and then at some point, adopters.
I'm just curious about like I personally I've never been like big into like Web3 gaming. I was a big gamer before, but I never really looked into it. And I'm like I never really seen a Web3 game, right? I've seen like Dark Forest, but that wasn't really the point of a game. They were mostly trying to implement like zero knowledge and to prove that you could actually use zero knowledge on chain. So my question is like what defines a Web3 game? Like is it the fact that it's on chain? Is it the fact that it's open source? Is it the fact that it's decentralized? Is it like you have GTA 6, it's a fully closed source company, but they have NFTs, and so, oh, it's a blockchain game? Like, what actually defines on-chain game?
Yeah, I think for me the answer will be the permissionlessness aspect. I was comparing with Roblox earlier. Like Roblox is basically on chain, except that there's no chain and you can't do anything unless you Roblox. That would be like the big difference for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends who you speak to be honest. A lot of people in Web3 gaming, it's just like, we have an NFT, there you go. My personal opinion is it needs to be on chain. But yeah, I mean, it really depends who you speak to, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there are lots of answers to that, but in my opinion, personally, the on-chain, if you want to call your game an on-chain game, it really needs to have some added value because of the fact that you are on-chain. It can be on retribution, you can do some competition between the players or stuff like that, which is completely automated and stuff like that. That's my point.
Yeah, not much to add. It was one of the previous questions as well about autonomous words, which is like it seems everyone has their own perception of what is a web or what is not a Web3 game. So we need as an ecosystem to agree on what is what. But aside from that, not much to add.
For each game, what is your target audience and how do you plan on acquiring it?
So for us, there's two challenges we try to address, two different audiences, Web 2 and Web 3. And in terms of repartition, we're looking at, let's say, 8% of Web 3 players versus 92% of Web 2 players. And having a free-to-play model where we know that roughly 3% of our users are going to be paid users, and the 97% remaining are going to be completely free to play. So you need to make peace with that, and we are going to adapt our communication based on that. So trying to have a different communication for Web3 players versus Web2 players, because both of these audiences do not look for the same thing in an experience, in a game. So some of them are here to speculate, extract value, whereas the Web2 players are more keen around gameplay, the universe, customization of the experience through cosmetics. This is one of the lever we are trying to leverage for marketing and for the business model. But yeah, like this is how we're going to do it, hopefully.
We are really young into this ecosystem, so basically what we just try to do right now as a little team of 3 people is just like make fun stuff with talking with a lot with the Starknet community, because it's really welcoming people. And so yeah, basically right now our target audience is Starknet people by making these fun games.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a little bit different for me because we're trying to run an ecosystem. So we've got several games building with and on top of the autonomous world. Gaming is a hits-driven business, so it's astonishingly low whether or not your game's going to succeed. So we don't have one specific target audience. It's kind of just run as many games as we can, hit as many different types of audiences, and see what sticks. Yeah.
For Briq, well, we didn't really focus on a target audience initially, to be honest. We just thought the idea was cool, and there were NFTs were a thing. But the people that we ended up mostly seeing use the platform were just creative people that wanted to make art, and to an extent also some people that liked the idea of having an easy way to make NFTs, because it remains quite technical to do it otherwise. And that has been, I think, except for like the people that are literally just being voxel artists, the biggest audience, which wasn't like huge in itself, but that we managed to leverage. And I think if we were to move into potentially like new areas, like children remain one of the potential use cases there, because they're just Minecraft in the end of the day. But the problem is that you can't really make those pay, so you have to make the parents pay, and then it gets pretty complicated for NFT. I'm still looking for you still can't really offer an NFT at Christmas in any way that doesn't make you the lamest person at Christmas, which is a big problem.
All right, thank you very much for the five of you for this great panel. Before wrapping the entire meetup, maybe we can, if you guys have some alphas to share about each of your projects, feel free to do.
So we're building. We're right now in technical alpha. So it was on whitelisting, and we're gonna go for Epic Game Store early access in January of next year, so 2024. We're switching to our mainnet of L3 Arbitrum, our very own muster. So it's coming in the next couple of weeks as well. So there's a lot of new cool stuff happening for Cosmic Battle, and we're gonna introduce our features, slowly over time. So we already have Cometh Connect, which is our own made account abstraction solution. We're bringing the marketplace API. We have things around minting, grinding NFTs. We're gonna try to also do a bridge between Polygon and our L3 to transfer the old assets, because we do believe interoperability is not just a lie. We can, make it happen. So everyone, that had assets in the previous experience will have the way to, either through an airdrop or just a bridge, be able to transfer their value, what they've accumulated in the previous experience, into Cosmic Battle. So that's a lot of work to be done, but as we always say, interesting challenge.
No epic games for now for us. But yeah, we are building a risk game on top of the Realms ecosystem. And at the moment we are competing for the Christmas Dojo Hackathon, so we have until the 2 of January to implement some game. Basically, it will be a game where you are on a map with all the other players, and you just kind of you can be infected or sane people, and infected people will run after you. And if you are sane, you just need to run, to hide. You have some hideout. You can craft some potions to heal and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't have any alpha. I'm not going to give any game away, but the only thing I have is that we'll be doing another Frontless House round in January, where we give a load of money out to people who are building games in Starknet and Dojo. So if anyone's building anything, just hit me up. We'll try and give you money.
Yeah, and I'll just shield Briq. We're live, on mainnet. You can make your own NFTs, buy bricks, do things. We're out there, so just type Briq NFT in Google and you'll find us if you want to see what that's actually like.
Final words before wrapping the meetup. So first, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. It was great to have you, and thank you the speakers. Thank you Cometh for the location, and again, thank you very much.